Hey guys, what's up? Today we are playing Final Fantasy VII, and I'm doing a comparison of the original PlayStation 1 version and the version that you can buy on Steam. I wanted to do a comparison of the Switch version, but I haven't bought it because I'm kind of holding out for a physical version that'll probably never come out. And what is Final Fantasy VII without Mako? Mako's up. She's a little drowsy, but she's awake. I think she wants down. There you go. She's kind of wandering around here. So I was trying to configure it to play with a PC controller, or Xbox controller plugged into the PC, but it's not really cooperating, and I think it's because I had a 360 controller plugged in, and it sees this as controller 2. So I'm just going to play with the keyboard, which is fine. You know, it's not like it requires a demanding D-pad or anything like that. Oh, and Mako's down by my feet, walking back and forth. She's still, I just finished filming the Mortal Kombat vs. DC video, and she's still a little drowsy and not feeling well from her vaccine shots she got. But she's a little more mobile now. But yeah, God, Final Fantasy VII. This is the game that really put RPGs on the map in the United States. I mean, you had your Final Fantasy games on Super Nintendo, you had your RPGs, but Final Fantasy VII, when that came out on PlayStation, I mean, that had like commercials and the marketing behind it, and I mean, it did really good. So, of course, PlayStation version, I'm actually just, I gotta keep an eye on, I can't make sure she stays out of trouble. PlayStation version, I'm actually just playing it on the PlayStation 3. It's just easier to capture that way. The other side, of course, is the Steam version. I'm playing it at 1920 by 1080 resolution, 1080p, but it's kind of compressed into like a 720p-ish, a little more than 720p-ish, just so you can see them side by side. But, I mean, if OBS rendered stuff in 4K and my computer was powerful enough, I can kind of do like a more pixel accurate comparison, but this will do. But since with all the talk of the Final Fantasy VII remake, which they talked about at E3, I figured it was a good time to finally play this game. But really cool thing about the PC version, and of course the Steam version, there's actually two PC versions. There's the original Steam version that came on the discs and you had to install them, which apparently, if I remember correctly, something to do with like the music files, like the MIDI files weren't correct to like how the PlayStation music was. And I think there's like a hack patch you can download to update that. But Steam version, I mean, the music and the sound effects, from what I've played so far, sounds pretty close, if not identical, to the PlayStation version. But of course, all the backgrounds were like pre-rendered backgrounds. So of course they have all that pixelation of like the native resolution of the PlayStation, where the polygon graphics, like the characters and whatnot. Oh, let's change my configuration. Like the polygons and whatnot, even some of the font, it's a little more like that high def look. There's actually an option to change that in the settings when you first start the game. So if you kind of want that more classic look, I'm going to change the window color here just because. Oops. I like this look here. Of course, you know, there is our keys here. Cancel, hit V. Cursor memory. Attack, restore, indirect. Cancel out. There we go. There's our run. Trying to get used to playing with the keyboard. And the game's not like, you know, too demanding in terms of like a graphics card or anything like that. I actually had a Windows tablet a little while ago, about 3 years ago, and I think I played it on that, and it played okay. I mean, you can play this on a cheap laptop and whatnot. Or you can just buy the remastered versions, which are on PlayStation 4 or Xbox. I think it's on Xbox One. But, you know, and of course Nintendo Switch. And there's Steam. The Steam version. The really cool thing about the PC version, though, And I've never done this. I actually looked up how to do it, and it looked really involved, so I didn't bother doing it. I wanted to do it for this video. But there's a lot of like really cool like mods and stuff you can... I'm trying to get used to playing with the keyboard. There's some mods you can install to kind of update the graphics a little bit. Like the character icons, like let's see, I'm pointing in the right direction. Actually, no point in pointing. Like just the character models here, like when you're on the overworld, it switches them out with like the battle. Oops! Oh crap! There we go. Can I go forward? There we go. It swaps out the character models for like the battle character models, so a little more detail to that. And recently, there is some AI mods where they took like the rendered backgrounds and they ran it through like an AI program that basically predicted what the background will look like in like high def, 4K, 1080, whatever high def resolution they used, and it looks really, really good. So I mean, you're gonna see this game continue to have like some kind of high definition life support to it. Here's another thing that was really cool. I mean, this blew me away when the PlayStation version first came out, because you know, of course, PlayStation CD-based media or CD-based video games. I gotta stop doing that. Sega CD, Sega Saturn, whatnot. I mean, it introduced us to full motion video in video games. You know, like the little cutscenes or whatnot. They kind of complemented the story or introduced you to the game and whatnot, but they weren't really part of the gameplay. In Final Fantasy, or Final Fantasy VII, it was the first time where like these full motion videos really complemented the gameplay. Like you saw the introduction where it's like this big video that kind of goes over the city and then kind of goes down into the like where the train stops, and all of a sudden there's the gameplay right there. I mean, that was just really cool at the time. I thought that was just like the most revolutionary thing I ever saw at the time. I mean, when I first played this and I first did a couple battles, I mean, right away I thought this was the greatest game I've ever played ever. I don't think it holds up well in terms of graphics over time like the SNES games do, but it's still good. It's still fun. The gameplay, the story, and everything definitely still hold up. I'm a big fan of the classic Final Fantasies over the new ones. I really haven't played much of the new ones at all. In fact, when I first got into Final Fantasy, I played the NES version, and I hated it, never understood it. I still kind of don't understand it. It's just not really my cup of tea. But Final Fantasy II came out in the United States on Super Nintendo, which is actually Final Fantasy IV, which is a whole nother thing, which, if you're watching this and you're familiar with it, you already know it. I had the Super Nintendo. It was early in the Super Nintendo's life cycle, not like launch, but you know, like a year into it. Had decent library out, and I had a couple friends coming over for the weekend to spend the night and play video games and whatnot. And we stopped at the video store, and we rented. We had enough money and a coupon to each rent a Super Nintendo game. One of us rented Contra 3: The Alien Wars. I think I rented, I want to say Super Off-Road. I don't remember exactly how much, or I don't remember exactly if that was a game or not, but I think it was Super Off-Road. And the third game was Final Fantasy II, because the other two friends were like, oh hey, why don't we do the Final Fantasy II for the third game? And I'm trying to talk them out of it, like, no, Final Fantasy's stupid, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, it's not stupid, it's great, we're going to get that one. I'm like, alright, fine. So, and it was my Super Nintendo, and I really didn't want to watch them play Final Fantasy II for half the weekend, but they ended up getting it. And we played the other games for a little bit, and then we went to Final Fantasy II, and we went back and forth. And as they're playing and taking turns progressing through Final Fantasy II, I'm just going to call it it's actually Final Fantasy IV, but I'm just going to say Final Fantasy II on Super Nintendo. As they're progressing through the game, I'm following the story. And I'm actually kind of getting interested in the story as the game progresses. And I'm like, okay, I kind of get this game now. I kind of understand why people like it, and that's kind of what drew me to Final Fantasy games, is just a story that's fun and easy to follow and that kind of thing. And they had gotten stuck on one of the characters. It was actually Bagain. It was when you sneak back in the Baron Castle, the guy that had like the snake arms, and they couldn't beat him. And by this time I'm kind of watching, so I had an idea how to play the game. So I said, "Hey guys, let me give me a chance. Let me try and beat the boss." They're like, "No, you think this game's stupid." I'm like, "No, no." And then finally let me play and fight the beginning boss, because now everyone can beat him, and I beat him on the first try. Never played Final Fantasy II before. And after that I got hooked on the Final Fantasy series. Hey Mako, what are you doing down there? She's down by my feet. Of course, traditional Final Fantasy games, you'd have like either 4 or 5 characters in your party. This one kind of limited itself to 3, but it was still good. I mean, Chrono Trigger had did the same thing. It was basically like a sequel to Final Fantasy, had a little bit of Chrono Trigger mixed in with it. But when this game was coming out, I loved Final Fantasy III, which is actually 6 on Super Nintendo, but that's still my favorite Final Fantasy, looking back at it. And I want to do like a versus Let's Play of 6, but I haven't really decided which ones to compare. I might just compare like 4 different versions. Like Steam version, Super Nintendo, Game Boy Advance version, PlayStation version. We'll see. That's going to be a long video to do. You can see on the PlayStation side I'm progressing a little farther just because on this one I'm like trying to play and think what I'm saying at the same time. Also, like when you go into the battles and stuff, gameplay is a little bit smoother on the Steam version, of course, which I assume it's probably the same on the remakes as well, like the newer the re-releases, not the remake. Remake's not out yet, but the re-releases. Good old turn-based RPG fighting game. But when this game came out, I had it pre-ordered at my local KB store, KB Toys store at our mall. I don't know if you guys remember KB Toys. They were like Toys R Us, but they were in malls. They were like mini versions of Toys R Us in a way. But good selection of video games. Bought a lot of video games back then. Oh, I should talk about the Limit Break. I'll get to Limit Break in a sec. But I think I had a coupon for it or something, or I had a coupon for KB Toys for $10 off, so I got the game for $10 cheaper. And I was there on launch day, and I went in like, "Hey, do you guys have it yet?" And I go, "Oh no, we're still waiting for the UPS guy to drop it off." And I waited at the mall since they opened at 10 o'clock until right before I went to work. So I was basically hanging out there at KB's for 4 hours waiting for the UPS guy to show up. And I didn't want to spend any of my money because I had money set aside for buying the game. So I had whatever game or whatever money I had left, I played the arcade, which I don't even know if they still had the arcade there anymore. I think they got rid of it. Let's see, how do we get rid of the menu? There we go. Oops. Yeah, I think the arcade at my mall might have went away by that point. But yeah, I got it, and I had took it home, and I had 20 minutes to play it before I had to go to work. So, and then I went to work, and then my friend Jim was actually working at my parents' store at the time when I was working at. And he goes, "Did you get it? Did you get it?" And I go, "Oh yeah, I got it. I played it for 20 minutes. It was really good." He goes, "Dude, you gotta come over and you gotta bring it over tonight." So he went over. He got off work. He went over to my house, got my PlayStation and my copy of Final Fantasy VII, and then I went right over to his house after work and spent the night over there. And he got about 6 hours into the game. So. And of course, this game was 3 discs when it came out, 3 CDs. And we had just went from cartridge media to CD media because of data and space and whatnot. And this was 3 discs. So we were like, oh my god, how big is this game? It's 3 CDs. So we thought it was just the most amazing thing ever. Of course, Final Fantasy VII used limit breaks. It didn't introduce them. Final Fantasy VI actually introduced them. 5 might have, but I never played 5. But in 6, they're a little harder to pull off. But 7, they're much more common. The limit attacks are basically kind of like it's like a meter builds up, and it's like a not like a final attack, but like like it's basically a high damage special attack that when your limit builds up after taking so much damage, that you counterattack with a really cool ability. And some characters will do like a heal ability or like buff your party or whatnot. So we're fighting this scorpion robot here. Trying to catch up to my other video. Oh, I did that too late. You don't want to attack when that's up. But I will heal myself with a potion here because he's going to do this big counterattack here. Mako, are you still under here? Ah, now she's hiding around here somewhere. Like every time I take damage, you'll see the limit meter go up. Then I'll get the limit break attack. Wait for him to put his tail back down. So yeah, the polygon graphics are rendered at whatever resolution you have the game set at, which of course for me is 1920 by 1080. Because I have it kind of like squished here, which I'll kind of show you. Oops, I did not mean to do that. That's okay, I'll give a good idea what we're doing here. Let's see, where is it at? PC's capture footage. Yeah. See, I can kind of scale it there. So that's basically what I have. I just kind of have it like squeezed into a little window. Hopefully I didn't mess it up. I messed it up a little bit. Let's stretch it out just a bit. There we go. Sorry for those watching the video. That's okay. And then after now the limit breaks full, it should... Oh, there we go. Just like that. Got a new weapon for Barrett. "10 minutes detonation." Actually, the guns will do the same damage in the back row. I might as well heal my guys here. There we go. Oops. And we're not going to play... This isn't going to be like a super long video. We're just going to kind of get to where the reactor blows up and that's it. Just kind of talk about some fun memories in this game. Usually when I'll play through this nowadays, I do a fresh start file. There's a spot in the gold saucer, or not in the gold saucer, but before the gold saucer, like on the mining tracks, that I like to farm, where you can fight like 6 enemies at a time. And I like to maximize my limit attacks to get like all of them like real early in the game. Like Cloud can do like the meteor strike. Actually, I'm not gonna bother saving it. It's not a big of a deal. Cloud can get like the meteor strike ability, but you can get it like on the first disc. Like there's like the first one you got to use it like 8 times to unlock the second one, and the second one you gotta kill like 80 enemies or something like that, and then so on, or something like that. I was talking about my friend Jim playing this game. When he first played this, he actually did not rescue this chick. So when he got to the end, he actually had to backtrack. Yeah, one of these days I'm going to have to figure out how to get these graphic mods installed on this thing. I've seen the YouTube videos of it, and the Let's Plays and people playing it on Twitch and whatnot. It looks really cool. Actually, what I'm hoping, and this is what I'm predicting is going to happen, is when the actual remake comes out, like the really good one with good graphics, I think people are going to take like screenshots and models and stuff from that game and somehow port them over into this game and make them look really good. I mean, it'd probably be a lot of work and it might take some time, but I think they're going to try and mod. I think they're going to try and mod this game somehow to make it look like the new game. At least I hope that's what happens. Because that would just really cool. Whoops, I keep going the wrong way. There we go. It was just really cool scenery at the time. I mean, they really did a good job in the mid-late 90s, creating like this whole nother. No, it was in '97 when it came out. I mean, it created like this whole world that just really showed what video games could be possible. You know, I mean, you went from playing like Final Fantasy 2 and Final Fantasy 3 and Super Nintendo, and even like Chrono Trigger and whatnot, and then you go to playing this, and it was like playing a whole nother world. It was really cool. I mean, I think the Super Nintendo RPGs hold up better over time, but at the time when this came out, it was just really cool. Probably wasn't something that you wouldn't have saw on the Nintendo 64 if Squaresoft, now Square Enix, had stuck with Nintendo, you know, making their games for Nintendo. I mean, it still would have been good. Final Fantasy VII on Nintendo 64 would have been good, but I don't think you would have had the amount of content and variety in the game. Because, I mean, again, it's 3 discs. I mean, it's 3 discs that majority of it is full motion video, but it's still a whole disc's worth of content. Like, here's another example, like the gameplay going to a full motion video scene here. So, like, the full motion video complements the gameplay. And that's just really cool. I mean, that was so cool to see in '97. Now it's so easy to do with how consoles and stuff are now. You know, the polygon models almost look like Lego characters or something like that. Of course, you're playing the eco-terrorists that are trying to blow up the Mako reactors that are using the planet's life energy as a fuel source. Damn hippies. From the evil corporation that's trying to control the world. Oh, I hear Mako playing in something. The cat Mako, not the magical energy Mako. Sounds like she's playing with a plastic bag over in the corner. She was going nuts with that yesterday. Like a plastic grocery bag. She loves playing in those. Of course, you got your Biggs and Wedge, like you have in every Final Fantasy game. Nod to Star Wars. In the Super Nintendo version, the American version of Final Fantasy VI, they called them Vix and Wedge. But yeah, I mean, I'm really looking forward to the Final Fantasy VII remake. Not sure about the gameplay though. I mean, I kind of like the turn-based gameplay better, but hopefully it's still fun. I mean, I like the first Kingdom Hearts game. I've only played a little bit of Final Fantasy XI. I mean, I got it on Switch. I gotta get around to playing it. But one of these days, maybe I'll rent Final Fantasy 15 and see how I like playing that. Maybe kind of get used to the gameplay. But most of the newer Final Fantasies, it's like the story's a little too complicated. It's a little harder to follow. The battle systems and the stats and everything are a little too hard to follow. You know, it doesn't like complement it doesn't like expand on the previous game. It's like they kind of like throw everything out and go with something brand new, which is fine in some ways, but it's a little overwhelming. I don't have as much spare time as an adult like I did when I was a kid. That was my problem with Final Fantasy VIII, actually, is when I first played it, I didn't like the Guardian Force system. I made it all the way to the end, and I fought the final boss in Final Fantasy VIII for like 2 hours, just because I didn't understand how to level up your character. I didn't understand the concept of your character being leveled up and the enemies being leveled up as well. And never did beat the final boss. And then gave the game back to my friend because I was borrowing it from a friend. And then I was reading some tips on it like months later, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's how the game works. And then I went ahead and I think I picked up a used copy or something, and then I played through it and just destroyed the game. Played through it really good. And now I love Final Fantasy VIII. Of course, the eco-terrorist group that you're part of is called Avalanche, because you're trying to save the planet. They're in a city called Midgar, which is like a city on a plate of a city on top of another city. It was funny because I remember when I talked about my friend Jim, because he was a big RPG fan. Him and I, when we first played this one, I got the game. We both were playing the game thinking that the whole entire game actually took place in Midgar. And then all of a sudden we got to the part where we got out of Midgar and oh crap, that's right, there's like a whole overworld and planet and stuff. Like your traditional Final Fantasy games, like your overworld. Midgar was just a town. So that was kind of funny. So I'm just kind of skipping through the dialogue here. And it looks like I kind of caught up to my my early PlayStation game. Oh, no, Mako's eating her food. That's good. She wasn't eating good earlier. But if you're into RPGs and you've never played Final Fantasy VII, what the hell's wrong with you? I mean, you can buy it. It's actually kind of affordable now on the PlayStation 1, because I remember the value was going up a little bit, but there's a lot of copies out there. I've actually seen them for about $20 at a local game store. Probably get them on eBay. Assuming you want the original disc. You can buy them digitally on PlayStation 3, on the PlayStation Store. Of course, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, and I think Xbox One. You know what? I'm just going to look that up on my phone right now. Oh, my phone's over there. Never mind, I won't look it up. Actually, before I end the video, I will actually look it up. That's what I'll do. Which we're almost at the end anyway. So I make a whole video of playing this game. It'll be like a 10-20 hour video. Oh, that's right. Here I am talking to Jesse, and I gotta go back and talk to Barrett. Helps if I actually read the dialogue. Implied F-bomb. See, his face looks like a toy. It's like a Lego face, kind of. Oh, then of course there's that Final Fantasy set. Excuse me. There's that Final Fantasy VII CG movie they did, the Advent Children. Advent Children was really good. It was kind of an enjoyable movie. A lot better than that Spirits Within movie. But yeah, I mean, that's basically Final Fantasy VII. That's your battle. That's your choking on some of my lemonade here. But yeah, I mean, that's the gameplay. That's the battle system. You collect materia, which of course you bind to your weapons. Oh, where is it at? I'm doing the wrong buttons here. Get materia that you bind to your weapons down in like little slot. Yeah, there we go. You got 2 slots there. You bind like the materia there, which the materia is what gives you your magical spells. So you kind of choose what magic spells you want your characters to have. And there's various different kinds of materia and whatnot. I'm kind of skimming over it. The game does a really good job of explaining it to you gradually through the game as you're progressing, so it doesn't like overwhelm you right away. So you get some and you bind it to a character and like, oh, my character can do this now. Then you get more, oh, my character can do this now. So it teaches you gradually. It's actually really good. So anyway, I want to see real quick. And let's see, Final Fantasy VII Wiki. And we'll shut off. Where's it at? Where is it at? There it is. Full screen that. So yeah, PlayStation, Windows, iOS. Oh, I forgot it was on iOS. PlayStation 4, Android. I did not know it was on Android. I have an Android phone, actually. Nintendo Switch, Xbox One. Okay, so it is, in fact, on Xbox One. I could have swore it was on PlayStation 3. They might have pulled it off the marketplace. Because I could have swore that you could have played it and downloaded it to your PSP, but I could be wrong. If you could buy Final Fantasy VII and play it on a PSP off the PlayStation Store, let me know down in the comments below because I'm kind of curious. I know you can do it with a PSP with custom firmware because that's actually how I played it to go. But yeah, that is Final Fantasy VII. Kind of curious whether I should do more Final Fantasy games. They're kind of hard to do Let's Plays of Final Fantasy because I'm trying to keep these Let's Plays short, and then every once in a while I can't help but make them like an hour long. So, but yeah, let me know if you want to see more of these, and I'll see you in the next video, and thanks for watching. Thank you for coming to my video. If you would like to help my channel grow, please like and subscribe, and please click on this little bell icon so you never miss a future video.